Imagine someone doing literally everything right. They do the daily ice baths, they drink the green juice, they run ultramarathons, but they are biologically aging faster than someone who, never even sets foot in a gym. Why? Because modern biohacking is actually a trap if you ignore this one specific biological trait.
Right. It completely misses the actual foundation of human health.
Exactly. And if you are obsessed with the why behind human biology and success, well, you are in the right place. Hit subscribe and turn on that bell to join the Insight Lab. We drop deep dives like this every week to help you outsmart the average. Now, let us get into the data.
Yeah, let us dive in.
Most people think hard work and optimized daily routines are the answer to longevity, but they are not. Today, we are breaking down the longevity paradox and why your own social circle might be your brain's worst enemy. Because, you get what you get, right? Blue eyes, brown hair. We're traditionally taught to view our DNA as this fixed blueprint.
Like a book that has already been printed.
Yeah. But the stack of research in front of us today completely shatters that fixed book illusion. Welcome to this deep dive into social genomics. The wild part is that the people you spend time with, the coworker you sat next to, the friend you just texted, they're literally rewriting your genetic expression and altering your biological age as we speak. Okay, let's unpack this. How does that even work?
Well, we are witnessing a profound paradigm shift in biology right now. We are moving away from looking at DNA as just static inheritance. Your biology is engaged in a constant, real-time dialogue with your social world. It is all about epigenetics.
Right.
Think of your DNA as like the keys on a piano.
Okay, the 88 keys.
Exactly. Those keys never change. You cannot invent a new key. But your social environment acts as the piano player. Depending on who you're interacting with, different combinations of those keys are struck. Epigenetics are like the fingers hitting the keys, turning genes on or off, creating a specific biological melody based entirely on the social room you are standing in.
I mean, I love the piano analogy, but I need to push back a little on the actual physical mechanics here.
Sure.
If I get into a massive stressful argument with my boss, or I just have a super lonely weekend in my apartment, does my DNA instantly start pumping out disease markers? Like, does an intangible emotion just suddenly crash the cellular hardware?
Well, the body does have buffers. We have to distinguish between an acute stressor and a chronic social state. To really understand the mechanism, we have to look at the conserved transcriptional response to adversity, or the CTRA.
The CTRA.
Yeah. When you experience chronic social isolation, your brain processes that lack of support as an acute physical threat.
Wow.
Because evolutionarily, a hominid separated from its tribe was basically guaranteed to face physical trauma, like a predator attack.
Right, so your brain just has not updated its software for the modern office environment.
That is the core tragedy of chronic social stress. What's fascinating here is that our cells literally eavesdrop on our social lives. When your amygdala detects isolation, it signals the sympathetic nervous system, and sympathetic nerve fibers physically extend down into your immune system.
Wait, the nervous system is physically hardwired into the immune system.
They are deeply interconnected. The nerve endings dump a transmitter called norepinephrine directly onto your immune cells, and that activates specific transcription factors that start playing a very defensive melody on your DNA piano.
Defensive how?
They turn on the genes responsible for creating inflammation. Your body is basically preparing to fight off bacterial infections from physical wounds that have not even happened yet.
Oh, wow. So it is flooding the system with inflammatory proteins to fight invisible injuries.
Exactly.
So what breaks first? Where does that wear and tear actually show up in the body over time?
The primary casualty of all that chronic inflammation is the lifespan of your cells, specifically your telomeres.
Okay, telomeres get brought up constantly in longevity circles. But let us clarify how they actually operate under this kind of stress.
Think of a cell dividing as a machine making a photocopy of a document. Every time it divides, the copier cannot quite reach the edge of the page. The telomere is the blank protective margin around the text of your DNA.
Like the little plastic tip on the end of a shoelace.
Yes, perfect analogy. With every division, a tiny bit of that blank margin is naturally lost. But when your body is flooded with inflammatory markers from a social threat state, it causes massive oxidative stress.
Which frays the shoelace faster.
It accelerates the degradation heavily. It forces the copying machine to burn through that blank margin.
And once the blank margin is entirely gone, the copier starts cutting off the actual genetic text.
Right. And then the cell corrupts. It becomes a zombie cell. It stops working, refuses to die, and secretes more toxins. Your social environment is literally dictating the speed at which your cellular margins disappear.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because you look at modern biohacking trends, right? People are spending absolute fortunes on custom supplements, plunging into ice baths at 3 in the morning, tracking every sleep metric.
All to save their telomeres.
Exactly. But based on this physiology, the ultimate, completely free hack for longevity might just be being a good friend.
It highlights a huge blind spot for high performers. We treat the body like a closed-loop machine, but we ignore the biological ecosystem we evolved in. The best performers use the 1% decision framework.
Meaning they optimize their social circles, not just their schedules.
Yes. Because if negative interactions trigger the nervous system to destroy your cellular margins, positive integration triggers an equally powerful counter-response. When you are with people who value you, your brain registers absolute safety.
Threat alarm powers down.
Cortisol plummets. And crucially, it triggers a massive release of oxytocin.
Now let us talk about oxytocin because it gets this super fluffy reputation in pop culture as just the cuddle hormone.
Which is incredibly reductive. Oxytocin is a potent cardiovascular protector. When released during a deep conversation, it physically binds to receptors on the cells lining your blood vessels.
So it is actively repairing the cardiovascular infrastructure.
It stimulates nitric oxide release. That forces the blood vessels to relax, immediately lowering blood pressure. It even promotes stem cell differentiation in the heart to repair damaged tissue. It acts as an antioxidant to literally preserve those telomeres we just talked about.
Wait, really? So a meaningful conversation acts as a literal dose of anti-aging medicine?
It is a biological intervention.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? How do we practically apply this tomorrow?
The research suggests a framework called the Social Audit. You need to evaluate your top 5 interactions from the past week. Did a specific meeting leave you in a threat state, like a tight chest or shallow breathing?
Which means your body is recording that interaction as a biological threat.
Right. Or did it leave you in a safety state? Relaxed shoulders, slower heart rate. If your interactions are heavily weighted toward the threat state, your environment is actively eroding your cellular margins.
That makes sense. But I have to raise a critical concern for the listener here. With loneliness being a global epidemic right now, what if someone is currently super isolated? Are their genetic shoelaces permanently frayed? Like, are they doomed?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, no. The human body is remarkably resilient. Thanks to brain plasticity and the glymphatic system, the damage is absolutely not permanent.
The glymphatic system.
It is the waste clearance system of the brain. It operates during deep, slow-wave sleep. When you finally enter a state of safety and sleep, your brain physically washes away the neurotoxic waste and the biochemical residue of that daily stress.
Okay, but how does someone trigger that safety state if they are isolated? If they do not have a close friend to generate that oxytocin?
This is where microinteractions come in. You do not need a 3-hour deep conversation to flip the genetic switches back to safety. Your biology is so starved for connection that even a brief 30-second chat with a barista is a physiological reset.
A brief chat with a stranger signals safety to our DNA.
Think about our evolutionary baseline. Encountering a stranger 50,000 years ago was incredibly dangerous. If you engage with a stranger today and they just smile at you, your visual cortex registers a non-hostile face.
The amygdala realizes the perimeter is secure.
Exactly. It proves you are not being hunted. That single microinteraction pauses the inflammatory response and slows down the aging clock. You are buying back your cellular margins one friendly exchange at a time.
Wow. Your social life is not just weekend plans. It is a foundational longevity strategy. We are biologically wired to survive together.
This raises an important question, though. Everything we just discussed relies on millions of years of evolutionary wiring that demands face-to-face, visceral human connection.
Which brings up a crazy final thought. If human connection and these micro-interactions dictate our genetic aging, what does the modern shift toward purely digital, text-based, or AI-driven communication mean for our biological evolution?
Are we fundamentally altering our DNA's safety signals?
Can a text message ever trigger that same oxytocin release? Can an AI companion convince your glymphatic system that it is safe to clean out the stress of the day? It is something to seriously chew on the next time you type out a long text instead of just picking up the phone.
The biology demands actual presence.
It really does. But look, if you realized your social life is aging you, you are only halfway there. Because the way you sleep actually determines if your brain can clean out that cellular stress at all. Watch our breakdown on the billionaire sleep myth right here to complete the puzzle. Go have a meaningful conversation today, and we will catch you in the next deep dive.